Let me introduce some topics of my country. As you see in this map, Chile is at South America, is at the south of South America. Here we are, and as you see, these two places, we are a tricontinental country. Of course, we are in the American continent. Also, we have a presence at the Antarctica and in Rapa Nui or Easter Island, the farthest place of Chile into the Pacific Ocean. The other countries around us, of course, at the north and the northeast, Peru and Bolivia, and to the east, Argentina. We have a very old history with these countries, peace times, war times, but now we have a very good relation with all of them. And then you see, of course, our national flag with our colors, blue, because the sky and the color of the sea, white, the color of the snow of our mountains, and the red, the blood of our heroes in the independence war. And the lone star you see represent the unified country. That's the idea of the flag. Here you see Bernardo Higgins. He's the first freedom fighter of our independence process. As you see, we had an independence war almost 6 years from the Spanish crown. We get an independent country in 1818. So we have 2007 years of independence until now. A few numbers. Of course, here you see a picture of the downtown of Santiago. The statue is from Pedro de Valdivia. He was the Spanish conqueror that found Santiago and different cities in Chile. Our population now is almost 20 million people. In Santiago lives almost 7 million people. You have that surface, and you have our GDP now almost $16,700. If we could make if we could compare the surface of Chile and Ukraine, you can see this. The continental Chile is about 25% larger than Ukraine. Of course, that Ukraine could fit 1.25 times in Chile. Chile is a very narrow country. It's extremely long and narrow, stretching more than 4,200 kilometers from north to south. We hope, and the wide space is only 150 kilometers. Talking about the presidential election of this year, we have 2 rounds. First, this Sunday, November 16th. Second round, December 14th, next month, okay? This election is very interesting because we have 8 presidential candidates. The last election were 7. The voting is mandatory. That's very important. And simultaneously, we'll have parliamentary elections. The presidential term is 4 years with no immediate re-election. That's very important. And when we talk about parliamentary elections, this time we'll renew all 155 seats in the Chamber of Deputies, the lower chamber, and 23 senators across 7 regions. Members of the chambers serve only 4 years, and senators 8 years, but they renew with half of the Senate every 4 years. The picture you see that is our Congress. Our Congress is not in the capital, it's not in Santiago, it's in Valparaíso, a very important city port at the Pacific. How many people will vote this time? Almost 16 millions. That's the number we gave the electoral service, Servicio Electoral Survey. How many people from other countries? Almost 9,000 100, sorry, firebomb truck. We have a lot of people from other countries, especially in the last 10, 15 years, mainly from Venezuela, Haiti, Colombia, and Peru. Many of them live in Chile for many years, so they have the right to vote. You need to live here legally, almost no, at least 5 years. Now, from the next presidential election, they will have to live here 10 years, the double, to have the right to vote. In this graphic, you see the participation of the citizens, the voting. As you see here at the end of the 80s, we had a very important moment of our history, the return to democracy after 17 years of a military regime. Well, the participation was very high until 2009, 2013, when we see the lowest point of voting of people. Then began to rise again until now. We had many votes in the last 5, 6 years for different issues. Let me show why. Well, this picture is of the last TV presidential debate last Monday night. As you see, there are the 8 candidates, so many. And what's the main challenges for them and for the country? First of all, let me say that we have a very high polarization level. That's new for a country like Chile. We have also an institutional fatigue between this period, 2019, 2024. I'll explain why. We are living in a reorganization of the party system with new political parties getting very strong against the old parties. And what's the main issues of this election? First, security, migration, legal migration, border control, and public investment. Many people say economy is no good, so investment is very important for us for the future. How to explain this? Well, in 2019, we began a very unusual and turbulent political and social cycle. This is the worst place, the worst time from the return to democracy. This began with the social unrest of October 2019. Maybe you see the news that year, a massive wave of protest. Why? Mainly triggered by inequality, the cost of living, and perception of institutional disconnect. That's right. That's true. And the demonstration soon evolved to a nationwide movement demanding structural reforms, especially in pensions, education, and health. The response of the government in that time from the President Piñera, a president of the right party, was to allow a reform to our constitution. Maybe people say, well, this was the constitution of 1980, the constitution of General Augusto Pinochet, the constitution of the dictatorship. That's not completely true, because from 1990, the constitution was reformed many times. In fact, our constitution today is the constitution of 2007 and has the sign of then President Ricardo Lagos, the first socialist president from 1973. We have two constitutional drafts. The first in 2022, written by the left-leaning convention, and after that, a second, 2023, by the right-leaning convention. Both were rejected by the citizens, reflecting deep social divisions and growing public fatigue with the political class. At the same time, as you remember, we had the pandemic of coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic, that it was a very it was a very hard time for all of us, for all the world, because the situation of the economy was very bad. And of course, we had the priority of the vaccination of all the people. In that way, the program was very successful, but the pandemic deepened economic inequality and social discontent. In 2021, we have the last presidential election. As you see, we had 7 candidates. First two, José Antonio Cast, a name that you will see again this weekend. He is from the far right, and Gabriel Boric from the left, that finally won the election and is our current president. This is very interesting because at the first round, José Antonio Cast has the biggest number of votes, 27.91, and Gabriel Boric, 25.83. So many people thought that Cast would win. But what happened in the second round? We had a very particular situation. All people, all parties against José Antonio Cast. Nobody then wanted a far-right government. That's why Gabriel Boric won with 55.87%. In 2024, Chile entered in a phase of institutional awareness and political fragmentation, with a very deep decline trust in parties and the Congress. So now the country is prepared to face a new election process. And as I told you, the main issues are security, migration, economic recovery, especially because in these 5-6 years, we have faced a very difficult situation in security. Many organized crime groups have landed in Chile. For example, the train of Aragua from Venezuela, the octopuses, a mafia gang from Peru, and many others. And the impact in the popularity of the president was very clear. As you see, the disapproval almost 70%, and is getting worse day by day. These are the 8 candidates we have in this first round. What we see, let me present each one of them. First of all, we have José Antonio Cast. This is the 3rd time he's trying to get the presidency. He belongs to the Partido Republicano, Republican Party, far-right party. Then we have this lady, Janet Jara. He was former member of this government, former Ministry of Labor. She belongs to the Communist Party. And both Janet Jara, this lady, and José Antonio Cast are the most successful candidates in the polls. After them, we have another couple. She is Evelyn Matei. She belongs to the right party, not far right. It's center right, okay? And he is Johannes Kaiser. He is from the Libertarian National Party, a far right party that is very strange in Chile. Kaiser belongs to the party of José Antonio Cast, and then he left and found his own political party. And we have 4 other names that maybe 2 or 3% of the votes we have in this Sunday first round. This man is Mr. Franco Parisi. He is an economist, and this is the 3rd time he goes to the presidency. He's a populist candidate. Here we have Marco Enrique Sominami. This is the 5th time he goes to presidency. He is a populist candidate too. This man with a mustache, his name is Eduardo Artés from Patriotic Union. He belongs to the far left. He belongs to the Communist Party too, but in this election, he runs as an independent. He's a teacher. And we have the last one. His name is Harold Mike Nichols. He is an independent. This is the 1st time he goes to presidency. He has a past as former president of, let me see, the National Association of Professional Soccer Teams. That's why everybody knows him, because he had a long career working at the soccer institutions in Chile. Here you see the vote. This is the vote we'll have in the table to vote this Sunday, and that's the order of the 8 candidates. But what's going to happen? Probably the most probable scenario is that Janet Jara and José Antonio Cast will go to the 2nd round. These are the last round of the polls. Janet Jara 27 to 28%, Cast 23 to 25%. In that context, the other 2, Matei and Kaiser, are very important because the distribution of the vote, all the analysts of local politics say that the votes from Kaiser will join Cast. The majority of the votes of Matei will go to Cast too. So with that endorsement, he could have the first majority and get the presidency. In the other side, Janet Jara will try to have the support of the independents and the other little candidates. In case 1, scenario 1, José Antonio Cast gets the presidency. What we have here, he has concern over security, migration, social order, and of course, the recovery of the economy. At the same time, his law and order discourse resonate with sectors disillusioned by what they perceive as political permissiveness and weak institutions from 2019 to today. The support for conservative and centrist voters would consolidate around promises of a stronger border control and thought anti-crime policies. At the same time, Cast would likely face a fragmented Congress, so he will have to create new alliances with centrist forces, and at the same time also the armed forces, Carabineros, that is our uniformed police, would play a very important role in his administration. When we talk about foreign policy, well, Cast is very close to Western parties, partners, sorry, like United States, the European Union. Of course, China, the relation with China is very important. China is our first commercial partner, especially because they need our copper. And well, probably he will try to adopt a pragmatic but firm stance toward left-wing governments, like for example, Lula in Brazil. And we have a very good relation with governments in Uruguay, Paraguay, and Ecuador, and of course, Argentina with President Milei. And what about economy? That is a very important issue for this election. Of course, he would reaffirm Chile's market-oriented economic model, and his program will work for tax simplification, incentives for private enterprise, and mining expansion, especially in copper and lithium. That is the new mining here in Chile. Second scenario, Janet Jara in the presidency. She belongs, as I told you, she belongs to the Communist Party from the left. Of course, she needs to govern with center-left electorate. She frames security as a part of a broader agenda of inclusion, welfare, and institutional modernization. Border control and fight against organized crime is not a priority for her, but it's a priority for the citizens in this moment, according to every poll you can see. And about governments and stability, well, of course, her administration will likely pursue consensus building within a diverse left-leaning coalition, including the Socialist Party, Communist Party, and independents. Her biggest challenge will be to maintain governability and potential internal tensions between reformist and more radical factions. Foreign policy. She, of course, needs a good relation with the United States, the European Union, and China, but she has a strong relation with leftist government in South America, especially, for example, Venezuela, Cuba, and of course, she will like to revitalize CELAC, this regional alliance. Climate change is a priority of her program, as the renewable energy and gender equality. Of course, the economic direction is very important for her. She needs foreign investment and to rebuild the economy of Chile in this situation. But the priorities of a possible government of her would include tax reform, pension system modernization, an idea she works very deep when she was labor ministry, and green transition policies. What about the relation between Chile and Ukraine? Well, it's very old and very strong. In 2022, when the Russian invasion began, the president of that time, Mr. Sebastián Piñera, a president from the right, condemned the invasion and support Ukraine in the fight against Russians. These declarations at the end of February 2022 was very close to the end of his period. So when President Boric assumed, he took the same position to support Ukraine against the Russian invasion. President Boric has defended multilateralism and the importance to defend the democracy and human rights. So as conclusions, let me reduce these 5 points. These elections are likely to reshape Chile's traditional party system with new actors, consolidating new political movements while weakening older coalitions that have dominated since the return of democracy in March of 1990. Public concerns have moved from the constitutional change toward issues as security, economic recovery, and migration control, which are expected to dominate the national agenda from March 2026. The results will determine whether Chile moves toward a period of greater political stability and institutional renewal or continues under conditions of fragmentation and polarization. In my point of view, I think we move to a more deep polarization. The next administration's stance will influence Chile's position in key areas such as regional integration. As I told you, CELAC, Mercosur, and the Pacific Alliance. Chile is a founder country of the Pacific Alliance. Relations with the United States and China and its leadership in the South Pacific and Antarctic affairs. For Chile, the Antarctic affairs are very, very important. Electoral outcomes will define whether Chile maintains its open market economic model with fiscal discipline or adopts a more interventional and redistributive approach in response to social demands. Here you have the presidential palace. The name is La Moneda at the downtown. Well, this Sunday we have the first round. At the middle of December, we have the second round, the most possible scenario. And then in December, we will know who will be working at the palace from March 2026, José Antonio Cast or Janet Jara. Thank you for your attention, for your patience, and well, if you have any questions, I would be very happy to answer it. Thank you.
Alberto Rojas, thank you so much for sharing your invaluable insights with us today. Your detailed analysis was compelling, and I'm sure it has given all of us a new perspective. Now we come to the most interactive part of our session, the question and answer segment. This is your opportunity.
Sorry, I can't hear you. The image is freezing.
Any questions of today?
I see you again.
You can raise your hand in the app or you can drop your question.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, so Chile has been recognized as one of the Ukraine's strongest allies in Latin America. In your expert opinion, what are the fundamental institutional reasons for this consistent support and how durable is this alignment? And also, are there any specific electoral outcomes that would immediately put this established foreign policy course under review?
Okay, I'll try to answer your first question. Why Chile supports Ukraine? First, we have a dictatorship in 17 years, a military regime of 17 years. So freedom, democracy, the rule of law is very important for our generations, different generations, especially mine. I grew in the dictatorship and I was 19 years when we returned to democracy. So if we believe in these values, common values with Ukraine, the political system, all the political parties, almost all, defend the Ukrainian fight against Russia. The Communist Party in Chile is little, but it's very old, very disciplined party, but they support indirectly Russia. Even the candidate Artes, who belongs to the Communist Party, support the North Korean regime and countries like Venezuela and Cuba. That's a very strange situation. But if you talk with people here on the streets, many people will say they support Ukraine against Russia. And sorry, the second question?
I see one more hand from Sophia.
Yes, thanks a lot for your presentation. You mentioned the two candidates, and I wonder what is your opinion? What are the relationships of these two candidates with Russia, and who's like more likely to support Russia than Ukraine? And what is the general influence of Russia in Chile? Are there any changes in attitudes towards Ukraine or Russia?
Mhm. Well, if Jose Antonio Cast wins the election, the most probably scenario is that the Chile will continue supporting Ukraine. I think that Janet Jara understands this situation, and of course, her possible government will not support Russia openly, because it could be very unpopular here in Chile. About the Russian influence in Chile, well, in times of the military regime, those 17 years, Chile had no relations with Russia, with the Soviet Union, in fact. So Russia opened an embassy after 1990 here until now. The presence of Russia here is very little. Maybe the main issue in the last month is the landing of Russia Today as an open TV channel here. Of course, before that, everybody could see Russia Today on internet or cable, of course, but now it's an open TV station. Very controversial issue here in the context of the elections. Why a TV station like that, it's mainly propaganda from Russia, has an open space in an open TV, RTV in Chile. The situation is still controversial. That's what I could say. More than that, I feel that the Russian visibility is very slow. Just give you an example. Here at my university, Finis Terrae University, we have many activities with the Ukrainian embassy from 2022 until now. The ambassador, Mr. Judy Dudin, has been here many times, but we have no activities with the Russian embassy. Yes, please.
I see two more questions from Sophia and Artyom.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your lecture for us. And I have one important question. Is there a risk that the new Chilean government will change its attitude towards Ukraine in the context of the war with Russia? Thank you.
No, I don't think that the Chilean government could change the position, the official position. In fact, for example, President Boric, the current president, was part of the peace summit at Switzerland. He has many pictures with President Zelensky. He has been very clear in the support of Chile to Ukraine. I don't think that we'll see a change in that way. No, even if Janet Jara, a candidate from the Communist Party, will not change that position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Artyom, this is your turn to ask a question.
Good afternoon, and can I ask
Hello.
you, could you please explain Janet Jara's policy as a representative of the Communist Party once more on Chilean people?
Okay. Well, the current government coalition is from left parties and includes the Communist Party. In that context, Janet Jara from the Communist Party was the Ministry of Labor of President Boric government. She resigned and she turned into a candidate of the officialist government, of course. She has a very hard work to get the votes from the citizens. Why? because she's trying to show her like a candidate just from the left. Indeed, many people say she should resign to the Communist Party. Even she herself has said she's thinking about resigning the Communist Party. Why? Because then she could show a more, how to say it, more sweet image as a candidate for the voters. She need to convince, she need to track many voters from the center. The center, if we see the all the political parties from the far right to the far left, today we have a very polarized party. The far right and the far left are very strong, and the center is very weak. At the beginning of democracy, it was the inverse situation. But the center is very important, it's still very important. I don't say it, but many polls say that we have between 4-5 millions of people that still don't decide the vote. 4 and 5 millions people that don't say who will vote. That people is very important for both candidates, for Kast and for Janet Jara, but especially for Janet Jara. She needs to convince them to vote for her, and that's not easy in this moment. Let me explain one more thing. In 2021, I said that at the second round, many political parties choose to get an alliance, everybody against José Antonio Kast. It seems that the country was not prepared to accept a government of the far right. But now the situation is very different. In these 4 years, Chile has changed in many ways and discovered many big problems like migration, illegal immigration, and especially organized crime. We have many organized crime from Venezuela, from Peru, from Colombia, operating and working in Chile. Chile is still the safest country in South America, but the perception of danger from the citizens is very high, okay? So when you talk, sorry to say it in terms of personal experience, but when you talk with taxi drivers, for example, all the taxi drivers in all the cities have the real feeling of the society. All the taxi drivers tell me that they want to vote for Kast or even Kaiser, who is even far right than Kast. That's a very important sign of what the Chileans are feeling today. They want order, they want security, they want border control, and a better economy. I don't know if I answer your questions.
Yeah, thank you.
So if nobody has any more questions, Alberto Rojas, I would like to offer our deepest and most heartfelt thanks, not only for your patience and clarity in answering all these complex questions, but especially for the sheer brilliance of your initial presentation and your time. I know our attendees have gained immense value from both your presentation and this engaging discussion. I would also like to extend a huge thanks to all our attendees for your insightful questions and your outstanding engagement today. I hope you found the session inspiring and that you are leaving with new ideas and practical takeaways. So thanks to everyone. We look forward to seeing you at the next event.